tonight because Essential Church is in the house. Essential Church meets here on Sundays, so they share all of this audio-visual equipment with us. And we don't usually get to use it in full force like we do tonight, but we have some help, so that's cool. Thank you, Essential Church. My name is Tony Eberhardt. I'm Executive Director of New Leaf Digital. We are the nonprofit organization that facilitates co-working night and 3210. Tonight we're having both of those programs under the same roof, which is always really fun. Thank you all so much for being here. And I have a couple of announcements to make before we get into the reason why you're all here is for Trey and for Matt. But if we could just welcome them and you guys take a seat. Okay, so tonight we have Trey Sharp. He's CEO of Tango and Sharp Communication. He's going to interview Matt Lander, CEO of Covalence. He's our startup founder for this evening. And I just want to say thank you to our sponsors. So all the food that we had tonight that we were able to enjoy was provided by the Boot Pizzeria on the South Parkway. So there's some coupons for free appetizers. Please take one of those, go visit them. It's great food, it's a great experience, and they're a local business owner, so you'll be supporting another startup person in the community. And then also Spark Huntsville. So Spark Huntsville is where we're at right now. It used to be Real Estate Row, but it's now Spark Huntsville. It's an entrepreneurial center. So this space that we're in right now can be rented if you're interested for any kind of event that you may have or you might be working on. And there's also offices in the back. My office is back there right now. You can rent co-working space. So if that's something that you're interested, please let me know. I can get you in touch with the right people. And next slide. Oh, okay, so save the date. We've got two big things coming up that I need everybody to be there for. We are moving to Huntsville West. So we're here right now at Spark Huntsville. We're moving to co-working night. New Leaf Digital is moving to Huntsville West, and we're launching on October 18th. I would love for everyone that's here tonight to also make plans to be there on the 18th, because we have some exciting announcements to make. That move in and of itself is huge for our organization, but there are some really exciting things that we're going to be able to talk about that I can't tell you right now, but I'm just like bursting at the seams, that I really, really want everyone to be there to find out. So it's going to be October 18th at 6 p.m. And then we also have our next community hackathon in partnership with Hudson Alpha. That's going to be over November 4th and 5th. We have a kickoff on the 3rd. With the hackathon, there's going to be some huge prizes. Last time we did this, there was over $10,000 in prizes given away. So we're going to do the same thing again in partnership with Hudson Alpha. We would love business people, developers, creatives, everyone is involved. It's going to be a lot of fun. And after Matt and Trey finish tonight, we have a full schedule of workshops. So if you're new to co-working night, you've never been before, there's 6 workshops that will happen after we break from this event. One of them was going to be a blogging for your business group, but Zach, our on-target marketing guy, he had a baby. So that's why there's a baby icon up there. I know, excuses, excuses. We gave him a night off. Man, these lights are hot. We're also gonna have Idea Suck, Hack Night all night. There's a really cool art project that's going on with Hack Night right now with some projectors. And Unearth Huntsville, we're talking about more art installations, ways to introduce culture, thank you, in Huntsville. So if that's something that you're interested in, or you have some creative ideas for the community, go to that. Designer's Corner, if anyone here is a graphic designer, that's the group for you. And DevOps, continuous development, continuous integration, continuous headaches. Bob Nance is going to talk about that a little bit. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Trey and Matt. They're the reason all of you are here. Once again, let's welcome them.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Matt, thank you very much for being here. Those of you who don't know, you just wandered in off the street or whatever, Matt Landers is CEO, founder of Platypi and Covalence. We're going to talk a little bit here about his journey in entrepreneurship. So to kind of get us started, Matt, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? How did you? We kind of know, in the marketing for the event, we mentioned you were working for Microsoft by age 19. How did you get to that point?
Yeah, so older than I look, or at least I like to think so. But I got started, I actually didn't get my first computer until I was 14 in Atlanta. That's where I grew up. I don't know, I've told the story a little bit. So, didn't get a computer until I was 14, so I'm that old where I didn't have one until then. And when I got it, I fell in love with it and knew that one day I was going to do something in computers. I didn't know what. I just knew that I was going to do something and I was going to work for Microsoft. That was my ultimate goal. And at the time, there was no Facebook, there was no Google, so Microsoft was the pinnacle of the tech industry. So I set that goal for myself and I started going to college and I got a PC support job where I was just like changing out hard drives and floppy disks and printers, helping in this call center. And my boss was also over the programmers. So my boss was over them and they sat right near me. And I was just kind of there doing that while I was in college. I knew that at some point I needed to get a CS degree, go work somewhere, get a bunch of experience before I got to Microsoft, because why would they hire me unless I was like a genius? That's the way I viewed it, right? But I would just go and peek over the programmer's shoulders. And how many people in here are developers? And how many people want people just peeking over their shoulder while you code? But I'm, 17 years old. I don't know any better. And I'm peeking over their shoulders, just trying to figure out what's going on. And I just started asking the guy a bunch of questions. And he was an older guy. Luckily, he didn't knock me out and tell me to leave. He actually helped. And he started to see that I was catching on. I went and got a book, like a physical book, to learn how to code. It's Visual Basic in 21 days. Sam's Publishing, I'll never forget it. And I would do it at work whenever nothing was going on. And he saw me creating this app on my computer. It was a Microsoft Paint clone. And my boss saw me and he didn't know that I knew how to code it. So I really don't. I just got this book and I did this, kind of figured it out. But he had a problem in his program that he was writing. For the last 3 days, he couldn't fix it. He said, if you fix it, I'll make you a programmer. So he gave me access to SourceSafe. That's pre-GitHub. And I went in, fixed it that day, and the rest is history. So I was going to school, taking a VB class where I taught half the class and the teacher taught the other half, and realized, okay, this is not what I want to do. And then I had learned .NET before it came out, and Microsoft was looking for people to go evangelize .NET because it was a new platform that was coming that no one knew anything about. And the fact that I had done C# before it came out allowed me to get an interview at Microsoft and eventually get a job there at 19. And then being stupid, I left a year and a half later, started my own company, which failed miserably.
Yeah, so tell us the story of what was going on at Microsoft? How did you decide to leave? What was in your mind? What did you see that you wanted to do?
I really didn't understand what had happened. I set this goal for myself when I was young to go to Microsoft. And
ended up like the dog that caught the car. You were like, you got the goal.
I was like, well, I got it. Now what? What am I going to do? And then my dad was an entrepreneur. He had his own buy here, pay here car lot growing up. So I kind of had the bug. I always wanted to do that. So I left and started a consulting company. And that was great for about a year and a half. I made a ton of money at 21 years old. My mom thought I was a drug dealer. She had no idea what I did. I bought a house at 19, and she told me, you can't move out unless you buy a house. You don't need to throw your money away in an apartment. And I was like, all right, well, I'll buy it. And then she was really confused. She's like, how are you going to do your laundry? I was like, I think I'll figure it out. To this day, she is mad that I didn't call her and ask her how I did my laundry, how to do it. So. But I left, started a consulting company, but I really didn't know anything about business, and this was probably my first business lesson that I learned. I had that first gig lined up where I made $100 an hour, and I hired 2 guys, but when we finished the project, I had nothing. There were no salespeople, I wasn't doing business development, and it was pretty much over, so I went and got a job at a data center where Google was in Atlanta. Worked there for a couple of years, and I went back to Microsoft.
So, you know, I think we probably have a lot of people come to these events that we certainly have a lot of entrepreneurs come, but we also have a lot of people that I think are kind of dipping their toes in, you know, do I want to be an entrepreneur? What do I want to do? And you're thinking about all these, you know, worst case scenarios. You know, what if I fail? And oh my God, my life is over, and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, you went through that experience, and obviously you came out very well. You know, what would be your advice to that person that's, you know, pondering taking the plunge, they're thinking about all the worst case scenarios? You've been through that journey. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I mean, if you're an engineer especially, you run like a risk analysis profile in your head, and if you do that, you're not going to start a business. I mean, the odds of it succeeding are not high. So a lot of engineers just don't end up starting businesses. They stay wherever they are. I was the same way, especially after I had failed so miserably before. Even though I wouldn't call going independent consulting necessarily a startup, which we can get into that later. But I had the golden handcuffs at Microsoft. I was there for 8 years at that time, a total of 10 years. At Microsoft, once you're there that long, they know how to lock you in well. I mean, I was probably making, after bonuses and stock and everything, like $250,000 to $300,000 a year. To let that go, to go make nothing, essentially, and take a chance is hard. But the thing that you got to think about is if you're in a job where you're making good money now, if you're smart and you know what you're doing and you can make it happen, there's another job for you. I went back to Microsoft when I failed the first time. Places like Microsoft and the tech companies, they know that you're going to get a bug, you're going to get an idea, you're going to want to go do something, and they know you're probably going to fail, and they're ready for you to come back. So, there actually is a re-onboarding program at Microsoft for people to come back. So I think there's some ridiculous stat of 20 to 30% of the people at Microsoft are there for their second or third time. So the key thing you got to remember is that the risk isn't as high as you make it out to be in your head. Yes, you might go into some debt. Yes, you might miss some payments. We got this social construct where that's like a really bad thing. But at the end of the day, you're going to survive and you can get out of it if you need to.
Do you think going out on that kind of failed start entrepreneurship, do you think that helped you get back to Microsoft? I mean, do you think that helped your career later? Or I'm sure it probably helped inform your second time around with Platypi and Covalence.
It definitely did that. I don't know that it changed my career at all, except that when I got the bug in those next 8 years, I was able to suppress it a lot longer. But eventually I just knew that I wanted to do my own thing again. But I wasn't going to do it again without a plan in place. So the first time that I left, there was no business plan, there was no investment, there was nothing. Like, I was young enough and dumb enough to quit and go do it with no plan in place. So the second time around, I had a business plan. I went and got investors. It was an actual startup. I was doing enterprise consulting at the time, so creating custom software for big Fortune 100 companies like Verizon, Home Depot, Merrill Lynch. I mean, big projects like Merrill Lynch's first ever mobile app, and Home Depot's. I did the full architecture for the phones that they wear on their head to do inventory and check people out in the aisles and stuff. I forgot what we were talking about. Wine. What was that? Where was I going with that?
No, that was all good. That was all good stuff. What I'm interested in, though, from what you mentioned there, it sounded like you had a really great gig at Microsoft. It was like your dream to go there, and you even came back the second time. You said you're making great money, and of course, going out to take the plunge was a big risk. So what the hell were you thinking, right? What was it that pushed you out of the nest the second time? I mean, did you just have what was it?
It was pretty easy. We got $2 million in funding. So at that point, when you get $2 million, you go, well, I guess I'm gonna fucking do this. here we go. I mean, I didn't get to keep the money or anything, but at least I knew that I had enough investment to make something happen.
And how did you raise that money? Did you do it, or did you have a business partner? Or?
3 of us left Microsoft, but the other 2 guys they were actually under me at Microsoft. They were college hires, so they'd only been there a year. They were a year out of college, but one of the guys helped me write the business plan, and then I really thought nothing of it. The amount of money that we wanted, I thought was ridiculous. Who's going to give it to us? Then all of a sudden he sets up these meetings, and I get on phone calls and everything, and I flew down to Fort Lauderdale, which is where most of our investors are, and I gave the pitch, that's where I was going the other time, was what the pitch was, and what we actually were planning to do. But I gave the pitch, and then literally the guy was like, let's do this. And I quit the next Monday, and then I bought an iPhone. Damn Windows phone.
But, so I mean, this is something I hear a number of times. I think a lot of people kind of put, until you've done it, they kind of put fundraising on a pedestal. And of course, it is really hard at times, and can be exhausting. But I think a lot of people have the experience that you did too. It was easier than they thought, right?
I can't really say. I didn't really think about it a lot. I didn't know how hard it was. I think that having 3 guys from Microsoft probably got us the money more than anything, because the people who invested in us had no idea what we were doing. Literally no idea. I mean, I guess I pitched it well and made him think that it was a great idea, which it wasn't. We never made $1 from it.
And this is Platypi, right? So tell us a little bit about what Platypi is.
So Platypi started in November 2013, and at the time, enterprises like Merrill Lynch, Home Depot, and stuff, they were not okay using open source software. So I mean, we would literally have to go to legal at the time to use jQuery, which, if you're a developer, you know that jQuery is used by a lot of people. We try not to use it as much anymore as developers, but at the time it was on 80% of the websites, and we're having to go to the legal team of these companies to use it. And I thought, this is ridiculous. And the reason was that their big businesses and enterprises are risk averse. They want somebody to call when something breaks. And with open source software, that wasn't there. So at the time, mobile was getting really big, and people were, at that time, Android hadn't really jumped that much.
When was this, like 2010, 2011, I guess?
2013. 2013. Yeah. Android was getting popular, but it wasn't popular in the enterprise. Like, everybody was just writing iOS apps at the time. They weren't even considering Android. And then as Android really jumped, they realized, we spent all this money writing this iOS app that now we have to write an Android. But they didn't want to use any of the open source software that was out there to do cross-platform frameworks. So we left to create an enterprise cross-platform framework. So what we created, we still use it today. It's an amazing framework. But we spent the first 1.5 years of the company just developing this framework. It's called Platypus TS. So if you was wondering what Platypi stood for, it's the plural form of platypus. And the reason that we chose that is that we created a cross-platform development framework. And a platypus is a cross-platform animal. It's a beaver and a duck. At least that's what I like to think. So that's where that came from. So we created this platform, and it was amazing. Like, we read every line of Angular. We performance tested it against Angular. It was faster than Angular. We did TypeScript from the beginning when it was in alpha. Now Google's doing TypeScript. But then once the enterprise decided to use open source, it kind of rendered us irrelevant, because are we going to use this Google framework, Angular, or are we going to use these 3 bozos that just created one? So, but we still use it today. We've written a lot of products on it, a lot of apps. If you've been to Sloss Fest, that app is actually written in our framework.
For those of you guys who haven't been to one of these events before, we're going to have probably about another 10 minutes or so of interview, then about 10 minutes of audience Q&A. So if any of you guys are thinking about something, got a burning question, just hold that in your mind just a few more minutes. So tell us the story about the kind of the centerpiece of tonight. How did you jump from Platypi to Covalence?
Yeah, so when we realized that we're not going to sell this framework, like that was over, we open sourced it, started doing apps and websites and digital marketing for companies in Birmingham. And we needed to hire developers. Well, we could not find anyone in Birmingham to hire, so we opened an office in Austin. But then we found that hiring a developer in Austin is incredibly difficult. We put a job rec out on LinkedIn and with 3,000 other software developer jobs. And it was, on LinkedIn, when you put a job out, you can tell how many times it's been viewed and how many people have applied to it. It didn't get a single view in 30 days. Because we were buried between IBM, Facebook, Dell, I mean, you name it. Who's looking at the Platypi job? So then I said, all right, well, this isn't going to work. And I found out that other companies in Birmingham are having the same issues. So from startups to like BBVA, regions, they had job recs out they just couldn't fill. The bigger companies were able to go to other cities and hire them there, but the smaller companies had a really hard time. They just hired remote or whatnot. So when I was at Microsoft, I had written a curriculum to train MCS employees at Microsoft Consulting Services. And just said, I can write this curriculum. Other people are doing boot camps. Let's write it and see if we can make it happen. So I partnered with the Innovation Depot there. And they've been a great partner to us to really help us get it off the ground and support us through it. And we started that in September 2015, graduated 15 students, and they all got jobs, and they all kept their jobs, which surprised me. That you could learn how to code in 10 weeks and then be employable. So I didn't know if it was going to work, and I really didn't think about it. Platypi was doing great, and still, Platypi still is doing well. But it just kind of took on a life of its own. Mobile came up to talk to us about taking it down there, and then Chattanooga came to us to talk about taking it up there. And I ended up just kind of putting more of my focus into that. So we opened a location in Chattanooga in the summer, and we opened our Nashville location in October. We were going to open Fort Lauderdale, but Irma took care of that. So that's going to be in January, and we're going to come up here in January.
Woo-hoo! Yeah, I think that's worth a round of applause. You guys go ahead. You know, I think you hit on an interesting thing there that you guys based your whole business around. You know, I think there's kind of a conception of, well, you know, move to Austin or San Francisco or whatever, there's going to be this plethora of software developers available for talent, right? But there's also this groundswell of all these big players trying to hire that talent, right? So, you know, you're going in and developing talent in these mid-tier cities. That's a really interesting thing to build a business with.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the industry in cities like Birmingham, Chattanooga, not so much, still, but it kind of has dissipated.